outside temperature plus 36 degrees. What's up, everybody? It's V-Man 1313 and good morning. Welcome to day 2 of our BMW i3 battery experiments. Today is colder by almost 10 degrees. Yesterday was 43, 44, and now it's 34 degrees according to this. And so, like I have said in the past, the cold just affects it. Look at that, 33 degrees. And so we've got a starting charge of 65 degrees on Eco Pro. Uh-oh, time to go to work. I'm on my way, baby, I'm on my way. 65 miles there on Eco Pro. And we're gonna take the same road we took yesterday to get to work, which means we're gonna be picking up 10 miles of interstate. And we'll see how that compares today to yesterday. When we got to work, we had what, 29, 30? No, we had 31 miles when we left work to go home without charging. So today we're gonna charge up. Maybe. We'll see what we have when we get to work. But yeah. Welcome to day 2. Now it says 32 degrees outside. It's pretty cold for Georgia. I know 32 is not cold for some places, but here it is. And I might. So as you can see, we went 7.5 miles and used up truck. It's one of the differences of my new commute. And I say new, it's been a year now, but this commute is, man, oh man. The trucks I have to contend with, and I know, I mean, it's part of life, and I'm nothing against transfer trucks or anything, but my gosh, the amount of them that I have to deal with on this new commute is pretty tough. Anyway, what I was saying, and probably not showing anymore, but I had 6 miles on a 7.5 mile stretch of track there. So we're at 55 before I gunned it there. And now we'll be on the interstate for 10 miles. Starting with 55, we'll see how much we use up of charge. Because really, in the bottom line is not how many miles you're going, but how many miles you've got left of charge. That's really what life is all about in an electric car. And so, well, in these electric cars, I would love to get my hands on something like a Bolt, or, you know, something with a lot more charge to it, a lot more range, and seeing how it compares to something with small range. I was just thinking about that with the temperature. I know that the big cars, and when I say big cars, I'm talking about large capacity, batteried, long range cars, they get affected too. I mean, all EVs will always get affected pretty much by the temperature. But it hits harder on these smaller sized battery cars. And that's why I kind of got rid of the Volt, because now my circumstances had changed, and so where I was driving and how I was driving it, the distances were a lot different, and it just, in the winter, it just didn't cut it. It didn't, even with charging at work, it didn't really cut it. And so we're going to take a step back on that, and then in a few months, couple months, I'm planning to pick up another EV. Haven't decided which one yet, but we shall see. Alright, we'll catch you when we get off the interstate. And as you can see, holy moly, almost 20. I mean, I didn't baby it. I I drove down the road just like I would drive any other car any other day. And we went from 55, 54 down to 37 in that mark. Now, that was 10-mile stretch. We've now been 18 miles. That's about right. It's about 7.5, 8 miles to the interstate. And it's about 10.5 miles to the can you see that? Maybe. Down the interstate, and now I'm on my final stretch to work. So let's see what we end up with. Alright, so we're charged up after a day's of work. And Eco Pro gives us 57. Excuse me. And so yeah, about all I can say. Charged up, ready to go home. I don't need that much charge to get home, but now I can go interstate or whatever I want. I can put on the air conditioner. I can do whatever I want to do. And yeah, so let's get going. One of the things about the car that we both dislike very, very much is the adaptive cruise control on this thing is horrible. Cruise control is cool. If there's not too much traffic, as you can see here, got quite a few cars going by me here. I'm getting off right now, so it doesn't matter, but too many cars causes that thing to be awful. And the problem is it's not a smooth slowdown. So let's say I'm this far to the car that's in front of me right now. Let's say I was in this lane here, and then I went over to that left lane. Oh my gosh, it would slam. It basically slams the brakes on. And yeah, that's not. It sucks in that sense. It's actually pretty nice if you only have a few cars and you can pretty much, you know, never hit the brakes, never hit the gas, never hit anything. But oof, if there's too much traffic, it's not good at all. It doesn't. It just doesn't adapt very well, in my opinion. It slams on brakes, and that's not something you want to be doing when you're on the interstate doing 70, 80 miles an hour, and all of a sudden a car gets in front of you to pass, and they're not that far in front of you, and they're not that slow. It's just that this car sees it too close. It lets go of that gas, and the regenerative braking kicks in hard. That's not something fun on the interstate. As you can see, we're down to 40 miles. I went about, I think it's 7 miles. Let's see, 10, 17, 7. Yeah, went 7, 8 miles, and I only lost 1 mile of range from my school to the interstate. It's about 8 miles, and I only lost 1 mile of range because, number one, it was still thinking about the interstate we've been all day and the temperature that we were in the morning, and now it's, you know, it's 50, it's not 33, so it does a lot better, but still, yeah, electric cars just don't like the interstate, and they don't like the cold weather. Those are two things just electric cars do not like. So we're about, again, 2 miles from home, coming up a different way than I was yesterday, and averaging 4 miles per kilowatt hour. I got to figure out what that number really tells me in relationship to the battery. So if it's got let's say a 20 kilowatt battery, does that mean 2 times 4 is 8? That would be 80 miles, right? But one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about as I'm pulling up to my house here is that top right number there. So the Wiz would set her trip meter to every time she filled up with gas. We're all kind of creatures of habit. We all go to work basically the same time, you know, the same amount of days a week. We basically go to the same errands that we normally do during the week, maybe every 2 weeks, and we go to our family's house, and that's what the Wiz does. So she was going between 700 and 1,000 miles per tank of gas. I wasn't understanding what she was doing, but now I do as I'm looking at it. What she was doing was, so basically what she was doing is every time she filled up with gas, she would hit that trip meter, and then when she had to fill up with gas again, she would hit it again. And she obviously wasn't emptying it, but if you went with that route, she was basically doing 350 to 500 miles per tank, right? No, she was going 700, and so she was doing about 350 miles per gallon if we divide it in half, because it's got basically a 2-gallon tank, a little less. And I'm being really conservative there, so actually better than that. But we can say 350 to 500 miles per gallon she's getting as she's filling up, and it's actually better than that because again, she's not emptying it. And so pretty cool. Definitely a gas saver, big time. But for today, the last 2 days, we've gone 98 miles. So we basically hit almost 200 miles in 2 days, and that's about right. I mean 100 miles in 2 days, that's about right. About 50 miles per day is what I average on my commute now. And so yeah, big time gas saver. Big time gas saver. All right, let's see what tomorrow brings.